One thing about me is I am a huge Avatar fan. I rewatch Avatar yearly. It's pretty much a tradition at this point. It is my favorite piece of fiction, period. So much so that one of my son's names is probably gonna be Zuko, and I'm standing on that. My future wife gotta read the terms and conditions, bro. And since I'm such an Avatar fan, I've ended up in just different corners of the fandom. And one thing that genuinely surprised me is that a lot of people just blindly hate The Legend of Korra. I mean, from the comments, the hate videos, and people generally just say it's the worst piece of fiction ever made. And I'm sitting here like, did I miss something? That's how I know a lot of this is kind of based in nostalgia, right? Like, keep in mind, I've watched Avatar since I've had a consciousness, okay? Korra just isn't and probably will never be as nostalgic to me, right? And I still liked it a lot. And part of that's probably because I watched it while I was living in the fucking boonies, right? Basically with no internet, no outside opinions jumping in before I formed my own, right? Which is why I think that gave me the chance to actually judge it based on its own merit. I think the reverse is kind of what happens with a lot of Korra haters, right? They're basically running on secondhand opinions and not the show itself. So I'm here to clear Korra's name. The show is genuinely the most overhated thing I've ever seen. And to back up everything I say in this video, I watched all of Avatar, read the comics, read all the past Avatar novels, watched all of Korra, and read her comics. Everything Avatar related except the games I have indulged in, okay? And I took in-depth notes throughout the entire process. And I mean in-depth notes. This is not gonna be a pure defense video. I'm gonna go over what people hate about Korra and why I believe some of the things they say are just misunderstandings, right? But I'm also gonna go over what I think is actually fair to critique The Legend of Korra on, because it's not a perfect show. Neither is Avatar though. Okay, it is perfect, but it does have one bad episode, okay? And before we start, one ground rule before you type in my comment section, please. If you haven't watched The Legend of Korra in the last 2 years, or you've never finished it, don't say anything. You don't get to say here, I'm sorry, you're just gonna embarrass yourself. So let's talk about the common complaints about Korra. I personally see a bunch. And notice, when you ask people why they hate The Legend of Korra, 99% of the time, they don't point at the structure or the world or literally anything else. They immediately point at not liking Korra as a character. So let's go point by point. Number one, she's stupid. So I took notes on every decision Korra makes, and I also took notes of every decision Aang made, right? And I compared them to each other. The real difference is Korra is more willing to act than Aang. She takes a lot of initiative, right? With Aang, he really only acts when he's convinced to or forced to, right? If you agree with that, just nod. You agree? Well, if you agree, just know it's the same with Korra. It's literally the same thing, different setting. Because even then, the dumbest thing she's done to break that mold was when she challenged Amon in season 1 and ended up getting captured, right? But even then, she, narratively speaking, she felt she had to, because people were getting kidnapped, they were getting their bending taken away, and she wanted to stop. She wanted to do something, right? But then even then, after that, she gets really careful. Of course, she is scared. But one thing about Korra, bro, is she don't make the same mistake twice, bro. Except dating Mako. I don't know why she did that twice for some reason. But if you look closely at most of the bad outcomes that are made, they don't really come from her decision. Stuff outside of her control. For example, when Team Avatar got captured by Tarlok in season 1, she had, at first, she tried to negotiate with him and talk to him to get him out of there. Pretty much he offers her a deal that she just can't take. He basically said, stop being the Avatar when it comes to me and let me build power and take over Republic City. And Korra was not and should not go for that. So then it ends up turning into a fight, and he starts it, by the way. Korra was finna leave. The outcome is that she gets captured because she has no way of knowing he's a bloodbender. How could she possibly have known that? And that's basically the pattern all series, right? She makes a reasonable call based on the info she has, and then something unexpected just blindside blocks her with no flag on the play. When she acts on pure initiative with no divine interference, it usually works in her favor. One problem a lot of people have with Korra is they feel like, oh, she doesn't listen to the people around her. And that would be a problem if the people around her were as competent as her, right? Because listen, in season 1, she's the reason they found out Asami's dad was making fucking ecoless mechs and building an army. She's the reason. Had she listened to the group of people who were telling her, you should
just drop this, Korra, leave it alone,
they would have to fight a mech army of people in platinum. And another thing I hear people say to just call her dumb is her decision to leave the spirit portals open.
Oh my god, bro, are we really letting Korra face it out into the world?
Like, complaints like these just genuinely ignore the actual lore in what we see in Korra and Avatar, okay? Firstly, spirits don't attack humans unless they're angered, okay? Or they're under Vatu's influence. And keep that last part in your head, because Juan didn't close the portals to separate humans and spirits. That is is a really big misconception.
And I will close the portal so no human will ever be able to physically enter the spirit world and release you.
As you can see, he closed them to keep humans from freeing Vaatu. His goal.
Spirits must stop fighting with humans and return to their home in the spirit world. I will teach men to respect the spirits so that balance will be maintained.
I'm sorry, Rava. I failed to bring peace. Even with Vaatu locked away, darkness still surrounds humanity.
His goal was to teach humans to respect spirits so they can live in peace, okay? This is the end game reason we even have the Avatar cycle in the first place, because he couldn't get all that done in his lifetime. Humans were the problem. They were dark even without Vaatu's influence. So spirits are not the problem here. So teaching humans to respect spirits, that's pretty much the task of the Avatar in general, but pretty much every Avatar we know of besides Wan and Korra just ignores that side of it, right? And the reason I leave Korra as an exception is because she completes the task. By season 4, there is verbatim peace between spirits and humans.
The Spirit Wilds. Here, spirits and people live harmoniously together. Like this old codger and his new pals.
You know, the exact thing the first Avatar had been fighting for generations. And it's so bad now to the point where people are using fan theories based on the first look we got in Avatar 7 Havens, right? To say Korra opening the portals caused the cataclysm that destroyed the world or something. Well, as of recording, this is all we know right here, okay? You can read it for yourself. Where exactly does it state this? It doesn't. It's a theory, a film theory. All we know is the Avatar is hated and something happened, right? That's a headcanon dressed up as evidence. We don't know anything. We don't know the results of nothing. Also, the general public in the Avatar verse hating the Avatar means virtually nothing. Why? The general public in Avatar never have the full story. In the novels, people loved Yang Chen so much that they fucking praised her, right? And they hated Karuk as a failure and thought him as a failure of an Avatar, right? But in reality, Yang Chen neglected the spirits so hard it led to a bunch of dark spirits festering in Karuk's era, right? And he died early as fuck fighting them, and one of them even killed Kyoshi's best friend. That is 2 generations of bullshit that she put avatars through, but yet she is prayed to. And I say this to say, we don't know enough about Avatar 7 Havens to blame Korra for anything yet, so don't. And more in the case of Korra's decisions, people also try to say that she's a bad Avatar, right? And this one, it makes me audibly laugh because she's easily the most accomplished Avatar we see in the series. Remember, Wan's actual goal wasn't just peace for humans, it was peace between humans and spirits. He couldn't finish that job, which is why the cycle exists. Every Avatar we know of, Aang included, basically neglected the spirit world in favor of just giving peace to humans. But Korra is the one that actually does the job. She teaches them to live with spirits and forces them to get to live with the spirits and get used to them, and they do. And once again, verbatim, peace between spirits and humans. And remember, what was the reason Wan closed the portals again? So no one could free Vaatu. You know what happens in season 2? Korra gets rid of Vaatu and he won't be coming back for 10,000 years. So there's no need for leaving the portals closed. On top of that, she brought back the Air Nation. Remember, these niggas are about to go extinct. She solved the bender non-bender conflict, right? And that's verbatim said in his lifetime too. That's about 4 things that she accomplished, right? That's about 4 things. But if you still can accept she's the most accomplished just off what she's done, maybe you'll listen to Aang's own son.
I bet Aang never could have imagined there'd be a spirit portal right in the heart of Republic City.
Korra, you've transformed the world more in a few years than most avatars did during their lifetimes.
Even if you don't want to give her the crown of the most accomplished, for some reason, you can't call her a bad avatar. Another complaint I hear is that Korra loses too much. I don't know why people have just this weird addiction to the protagonist, to their favorite protagonist being this unbeatable fucking god of destruction, right? And I just don't get it. If it makes narrative sense and builds the story and has a reason for being in the story, why is it a problem? Zuko's whole character is gets knocked down and gets back up guy. Everybody loves that, right? And it's the same trait in Korra. Suddenly it's a fuck up and a flaw. And I thought we liked flaws in characters. It is not like she even just loses for no reason and there's just always some bullshit. There's always context within the story, right? And just like when they lose an avatar, right? Aang loses plenty too. His team Avatar loses plenty too. Suki even jokes about it in Ember Island Players.
It's like every time there's a big battle, you guys barely make it out alive. I mean, you guys lose a lot.
And even then, Korra pretty much wins every fight where there isn't like outside interference like poison or PTSD or whatever, right? If context doesn't matter, let's open the Aang files then. If context don't matter, why is Aang getting his ass beat by random archers? These niggas are non-benders. Why is a 22-year-old, fully realized Avatar Aang getting beat by non-benders? Exactly, bruh. Context is key. He's not actually trying to hurt them. He's more focused on getting the frogs for his friends because they sick. If we're gonna use context for one character, use it for both. That's why I really hate when niggas say,
Oh, Korra's weak, she got beat by Kuvira.
yo, get the fuck out of here. Also hear a lot in the same vein as Korra losing a lot is that Korra is weak. I can't believe I have to clarify this, but Korra isn't weak. Her villains are just strong. And I already know I'm finna make some niggas mad, but y'all gotta hear the truth. Korra is stronger than Aang. I have two main reasons for this, alright? One of them being, before Bolin and Mako got past Unalaq, right? And he third party, she was dog walking Vaatu. Now, when you say the V word in the Avatar community, there's a group of certain people who come out. I call them the downplay warriors. There are people who say anything to keep Korra below Aang in any and all aspects. Reasoning? They don't give a fuck, buddy. Aang better. They will say anything, including the absolute bullshittery that Vaatu isn't even top 4 strongest spirits. That is a legendary downplay. So y'all, we're gonna play a game. Let's play a game called Are They Stronger Than Vaatu? Apparently, the 4 spirits people bring up that are stronger than Vaatu are Twee and La, General Old Iron, Mother of Faces, Father Glowworm. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Let's just get this shit out the way. First up, Twee and La. They gave up their immortality. They tell us this in Avatar.
One of them contained a detailed illustration and the words moon and ocean. I knew then that these spirits could be found and killed.
Vaatu and Rava are the most immortal spirits that we know of, okay? They always come back. Keep in mind, the moon spirit literally got killed by Zhao. Absolutely no effort. So what? Is Zhao a top bender in the verse? Fuck no. And their only real feat that doesn't involve one of them dying is literally from them fusing with Rava, Vaatu's direct equal. Not stronger than Vaatu. Next up, General Old Iron. This nigga got accidentally killed by Aang, bruh. He is only dangerous because of his armor, which is just metal. By the way, Toph and her students bend that shit off of him. It is metal. Keep in mind, Vaatu can do this without being fused. And just for proof, this is him doing it without being fused. Generally, how strong do niggas think metal is? Vaatu took a shit ton of hits in Avatar state during harmonic convergence, right? General Old Iron got killed by one. I don't want to hear it. Nigga wasn't even trying to kill him. Even if he could miraculously survive one of Vaatu's beams, he has no way of hurting Vaatu that we know of because he can regenerate, and Old Iron has never shown enough offensive potential to so much as leave a scratch on Vaatu. Not stronger than Vaatu. Speaking of no offensive potential, Mother of Faces. Guys, she has no combat feats. You could say, oh, maybe she's more ancient and older than Vaatu and them, but the closest thing she has to fighting in the series is when she sends animals to fight for her. And yes, her power that let her give faces to everybody, you know, pretty cool, but how is she gonna use that in a fight with Vaatu? She's never demonstrated the ability to use it in a fight before. She literally has to ask you to stand still to use her power, by the way. I'm not even sure her powers would even work on Vaatu. Vaatu doesn't even have a face. What can she genuinely do to hurt Vaatu? Especially considering we saw her in 4K get held down by a random waterbender, not stronger than Vaatu. And since we got the mother out the way, let's go ahead and talk about the father. Father Glowworm. If you genuinely think Father Glowworm is stronger than Vaatu, you're a LARPer. Most niggas who say shit like Vaatu not even top 4 have never even read the Kyoshi novels, by the way. Do you even know who Jianzu is? Glowworm got stalemated. No. Actually, he ran away. So he got beat by a physically and spiritually withered Karuk, okay? Then he got finished off by Yoon, a good earthbender. But at the time, he was not an Avatar state worthy good one. Glowworm's one actual power, besides controlling his fucking jelly tendrils and spikes, whatever the fuck that's supposed to do to Vaatu, is tunneling between the spirit world and human world, right? Which we never actually see him do in combat. And you know, that would be a really cool feat if Vaatu didn't say this.
It was I who broke through the divide that separated the plane of spirits from the material world.
And if that's not enough to convince the downplay warriors that Korra is stronger. Maybe the creators themselves can convince you.
I think it's like, I watch a lot of fighting, and it's like, they'll say like, 9 times out of 10 I'll beat that person. But there's always that one, and I feel like 9 times out of 10 Aang would just get away. There's always that one time Korra like gets a hold of his like cowl and then just beats the crap out of him.
Remember, most of these stalemates happen with Aang because Aang is running away, not fighting. The one time Korra gets him, she beats the crap out of him. That's what the nigga said. I really can't believe I just had this fucking segment when I could have just put that first. I mean, it's not like the strength matters anyway, but damn. All right, last Korra-centric point. She doesn't grow as a character. Okay, so I'll try to give more wiggle room here just because people interpret things different. But I also believe this is also coming from a misunderstanding because people confuse maintaining the core of the character with having no growth. The core of the character is the stuff that doesn't change overall, right? Like this character would do this in this situation, right? So it's like how you identify the character. Like for example, Sokka, he goes from this pessimist warrior wannabe, right, to a just genius tactician and leader and this amazing inventor, right? But he always, throughout the entire series, he keeps that dry wit about himself, and that we all love that dry wit, and he keeps it the whole show. But nobody says he didn't grow. Of course, there's gonna be that one guy.
Hey, we like Sokka, we hate Korra.
Hey man, I can't Joe Jackson your shit and make you have the same opinion as me, bro. I fuck with Sokka more too though. But I ain't gonna lie, bro. It's the same with Korra though. Her Korra is being like headstrong, learns the hard way, like, and she's unsure about herself, right? And she's still finding herself. But she absolutely grows as a character, which is why it's crazy to say she don't grow. Especially considering she has one of the most in-depth character arcs we see in Avatar. Because we see she gets progressively more like peaceful and diplomatic across the series. And in season 4, this is where I noticed, like, full stop, there's no room for misinterpretation or nothing. It's when she like tries to handle Kuvira peacefully at first. It is a total 180 from season one Korra, who was always punch first, ask questions later. Remember, this is the same girl that tried to 1v1 Amon 6 episodes before the finale. I feel like if it was any other villain, maybe it would have came to a compromise, but Kuvira is kind of like Korra's Ozai, just in how they think and how they have to be handled by the Avatar. I mean, listen to this shit.
The only way you're going to keep me from marching into Zaofu is if you physically stop me.
But one thing about Korra's villains is, they even say this in the show, they aren't necessarily wrong in their core motivation. It's just they take it to an absolute extreme. Because I genuinely think if you swapped Korra for Aang in your head, late season 4, after Korra got all her mind and mental stuff worked out, right? You take a look at the decisions they make and think, what would Aang do in this situation? You notice Aang would likely handle it the same way as Korra. Keep in mind, she was an entirely different character, looked completely different from Aang in the beginning. That is character growth. I mean, just like Aang, they both take responsibility for things that aren't really their fault. I mean, it's not like Aang chose to let his people get wiped out. It's not like she chose Zahir to get fucking airbending. It's not even like she just gave Unalaq Rava, right? He ripped it out of her. And I hate when people try to say, oh my gosh, Korra lost the avatars. She didn't willingly do that. It was taken from her. There's the people who are always like the doom and gloom about the future avatars losing the past lives and the wisdom and shit.
Oh, Pavi's gonna be screwed without all that knowledge.
Wan was the first avatar, and he stopped Vatu with none of that knowledge. Pavi will be fine. Even then, most avatars only really ever leaned on one past life for most stuff anyway, when it came to wisdom. Aang really only needed Roku. I wouldn't even count when he was talking to the past lives on the lion turtle, because they all told him the same thing as Roku, and he ain't even listened. Kyoshi really only needed Kuruk. Roku really only needed Kyoshi. I mean, technically Kuruk too, but he didn't seek him out. Yang Chen needed nobody. Korra is actually the exception here, since she needed both Wan and Aang specifically, because she was directly cleaning up after things unfinished by them. So as long as the avatar state and the reincarnation cycle still work, nothing is broken or scuffed, and that covers pretty much 99% of Korra hate. And I feel like it just comes from a flawed misunderstanding of the show, or not watching it at all, which is why I'm a rewatch enthusiast / just watch the show enthusiast. Just watch the show. Now, like I promised, here are things I have a problem with in the show, or I wouldn't look at you crazy if you had a problem with it, right? One of them is like the tech jump. because like radios and cars and cameras and movies and shit, it's a huge jump from where Avatar left off. I mean, them niggas were still painting to take pictures, but low-key technology and inventing stuff was always a part of Avatar, right? You know, hot air balloons, Sokka literally created submarines. So I'm not surprised that a pretty decent tech jump happened in 70 years. Like, that doesn't shock me, but it is still really wild. We go from fucking riding ostriches to mechs. Another issue I have with Korra is definitely season 1's like pacing, I say, if that's what I mean. Like, it leans too hard into showing off the new state of the new Avatar world, right? Even when we're like just hard locked into 3 locations for half of the season until the fucking Equalist plot kicks in, right? In pro bending specifically, it just overstays its welcome. It is pretty much the main thing outside of the Equalist for the first 6 episodes, right? And don't get me wrong, it's a cool concept, but it got way too much screen time, because you can definitely feel when all the pro bending shit is over, you can just feel the quality of the first season shift and go up like really a lot, because the Equalist conflict is the best part of season 1. Even there's season 2. Season 2 is the lowest point in Avatar in general, because season 2 splits itself between like the Civil War plotline and the Spirit plotline, but instead of committing to one, it just goes all over the place. And it really suffers for it, because season 1, it's a problem with season 1 and 2. They just commit to too much. Like, why is Varric? I get Varric is a very important character in Korra, but he had way too much screen time in season 2. I'm not gonna lie. But compare that to season 3 and 4, when each season commit to just one strong tether for a season, right? And you can definitely tell they're noticeably better for it, because season 3 is the second best Avatar season in general. It's only behind Avatar: The Last Airbender season 3. And if you don't agree, suck my balls. People also say they have problems with the show's choreography and say like Avatar's fighting is better. And to that I say, battled, man. Stop letting your nostalgia control you. People also have this really like weird nitpick of just that they just blow out of proportion, talking about how they have a problem with Korra firebending so much for a waterbender. Okay, I can't believe I have to clear this up, but the only waterbender in Avatar that can bend water out of thin air is Hama. Everyone else, even Katara, needs a water source. That's why she carries a gourd around. Korra's world just doesn't have water just lying around as often as conveniently as an Avatar, right? And they also live in the age of metal, so like Earth isn't as consistently available either. So it makes sense fire would be what she uses a lot, because it's available to her at any time, at any situation. And that's why when she learns air, it becomes her second most used element too, because you can use it anywhere as well. Now, my biggest gripe with Korra here is her Team Avatar's chemistry. It is my actual biggest gripe. Korra dated basically everybody on her team. Actually, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. She friend zoned Bolin, but still, 2 for 3 is wild. Because you gotta remember, bro, Avatar nearly avoided romance almost entirely between the main characters. And then look at Korra, and she's fucking knee deep in a love triangle within 5 episodes. And I feel like that makes the group dynamic feel less like genuine friendship and more like people who stay together because they're more romantically linked in some way, outside of Asami, because Asami's really the only like friend to the group. But then they kind of messed that up by having Korra end up with her. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm all for Korra and Asami. I actually saw them building it up in season 3, okay? It didn't come out of nowhere. They were building that shit up in season 3. But with the gang though, it's different, because you could put any 2 of them in a room for 20 minutes and it wouldn't be awkward. Do that with Korra's team and it turns into like a conversation about exes and all that other shit. Like Mako and Asami especially just kind of feel like underwritten outside of their relationships with Team Avatar. Like Bolin is the only non-Avatar that's like who really lands for me as a character that's in Team Avatar, because he goes through his own changes and develops outside of the confines of Team Avatar. However, when we start talking like the expanded Team Avatar, you know, Tenzin is my favorite character in the show, okay? I also like Lin. I fuck with Kahi tough. Hell, I even fuck with Milo. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Korra just has a really great side cast, bro. There's just a lot to love in Korra, like lava bending, spirits, expanding on the spirits, the Red Lotus, the airbenders being like these worldwide superheroes instead of like being just these isolated as the OGs were, right? Like there's just so much to love with this show, which is why it's wild to me that all I see about it is hate. Now, is it as good as Avatar overall? No, And I will pretend the show has to beat Avatar for me to respect it, okay? Because nothing will ever beat Avatar for me, period. Nostalgia and bias included. Because I judge sequels on how well they carve out a lane for themselves while respecting what came before, right? And Korra does that really well. That's why it's a good sequel, and I believe it lived up to Avatar as best it could. But after this, if you've still got strong negative opinions on Korra and haven't watched it in a while, or you never finished it, generally go watch it with an open mind, okay? Walk in expecting to hate something and you will. Give it a shot. Even if you still don't like it, at least you'll actually have earned the opinion and have the right to type in my comment section. But of course, there are going to be some people who still type anyway. Now, if I'm being honest with you, this is the really nerfed version of this video, okay? There was so much more I want to speak on and stuff, you know, you guys might actually call me out on to address that I actually did in the full version of the video, but I had to cut for time or I wasn't sure if I could use it, right? Because let's be honest here, don't neither of us want to be here all day. So if you've got more to say on this, I actually do too. So come into my Discord and talk about it, all right? I'll literally be in there, I'll be active, and I welcome this discussion, okay? The link is in the description. Come through, man. Like, we in the Discord, bro. We're peaceful like Yang Shen's era when she was the Avatar, except there's less dark spirits. But yeah, anyway, that's all I want to talk about for today, man. I'm out. Peace.